Here is Valorant's brand new map called Corrode in all of its glory. Now, Riot were generous enough to give me early access here, so I wanted to make a video for you guys, essentially just showcasing the map itself and where you will find yourself. But firstly, I just want to say that the design itself for this map, I absolutely love. The idea is essentially that it was originally this French castle town, but then it got transformed instead into this radianite salt mining facility. So you get this really cool mix, obviously you got some medieval architecture up there and just all around. Then you've also got all of this industrial sort of equipment to assist with the salt mining. But yeah, I will work my way through the whole map in this video. I'll just start off from an attacker's perspective. If you want to take a look at the mini-map though, just pause the video there, zoom in, whatever, take a look at some of the callouts, the general layout of this map. It is obviously just going to be an A site and a B site. We have no C site to worry about here. Mid, of course, is going to be pretty important, but I'll get to that later in the video. And then there aren't really any gimmicks or anything as well either, where on Abyss you could fall off. On Lotus you've got breakable doors, rotating doors. Nothing like that going on here. It's just a fairly standard map, more or less, although it's more just like the design and the layout that makes it unique. I think the way that Riot described it was that there were layered defenses and fallback positions, so we'll take a look at a few of those. I'll start off with the bi-face barriers, though, just towards the A site. So this is A, you got mid over there, that's the furthest you can go as an attacker for now. The bi-face barrier is going to be right up here, and you'll notice that this is the sort of neutral space that no one has at the start, because the defenders will start back here. And so if you are attacking, if I'm standing right here and this barrier drops, you can like immediately hold this angle and stop them from pushing out. So unless they do a smoke or maybe have an omen that can teleport across, you can immediately watch this angle as an attacker, I believe. Got an ult orb right here to fight for as well. But yeah, that's A main, or is it A main? Yeah, that's A main. Nothing crazy going on, but when you get out here is where things get really interesting. So that's mid over there. I'll get to mid later, but
cover going out.
Just so you know, that's where it is. On your left, there's this one box to watch out for as you're attacking. Then up there, through that room, is the A site itself, but there is another side here where you can also go through elbow. So you come up here, it's elevated. Another box behind there to watch out for. Come through here, watch out for that corner. Another box there could be behind right there. You come through this way. There, I guess, well, it's called crane on the map, but people will probably just call that CT, I would imagine. So that's where the defenders will be coming from. You come through here, and then this is the A site itself, which is indoors, which is pretty unique for Valorant. I don't think we, off the top of my head, there isn't anything like that, but I could be mistaken. But yeah, it definitely does seem like the site itself is pretty small and nothing crazy going on, and what makes it complex is all this extra space on the outside to fight for instead. But yeah, I mean, as far as default goes, you might find people planting here a lot. In a perfect world, so you'd get it down like right in the open for everywhere, but just depends on a round by round basis, I guess. And then yeah, if you come through CT here, obviously this is just going to take you into the defender spawn, so the defenders will spawn right in here. This castle in the background, this map is so sick. Yeah, this is where the defenders would spawn in, and to get to the A site, obviously just back the way we came towards the left here. And if you're a defender, obviously we saw earlier the bi-face barrier is right there, so maybe you want to sit in this corner behind the box. If you're a chamber, you could have a TP set up like back here on side or something, play a one and done sort of angle here, and then fall back to side. We've got mid as well, but don't worry about that for now. Instead, let's pivot towards the B site and attacking it. So here's the other entryway to mid from the attacker side of things. Keep in mind that's where the bi-face barrier is. And then towards B, you can come this far. So again, I'll just give you a little overhead view of this neutral space here. Defenders start all the way back there. And then this is the space we are working with. So in this case, compared to the other side of things, it is definitely going to be possible for the defenders to, just shift walk up and across. So you will have to be mindful of this area. Enemies could be there. And in general, this sort of reminds me of like Sunset B main, where as you're coming through here, you have to worry about the left side. But otherwise, this orb does feel sort of free for the attackers. As long as you just get one person ahead of you to check for that, then you should more or less be fine to just pick up that orb. Things do get pretty hectic towards the B side itself though. First and foremost, right on your left, you've just got a nice little ready judge corner right there. So watch out for that little cubby. You do have Heaven all the way up there as well. So that's, you're gonna always want to smoke that off. Heaven right up there. Once again, we have mid. So mid over there, you might want that smoked off. If you only have 2 smokes, I think those would be your 2 priorities. There is one more entrance though, so the site actually technically has 4 different entrances, because the defenders can also come through here. So I'll just quickly show you off here as well. This is B elbow. So defenders, there's 2 different levels of elevation here they could play on. Look down to the site. Then of course that is where the defenders spawn themselves. So come through there, that's what I was showing you before. They can go through elbow, or they can take the stairs up to Heaven. and they have this angle down onto the side. Now, one thing I saw is that anyone can make these jumps. So unlike, for example, like Haven, where Jet can get down from heaven onto the boxes and like float across and stuff like that, here anyone can do that. And then over to this box as well, anyone can also do. So I mean, you can just already imagine just a high-low setup on that box could be pretty deadly. Yeah, I think the different elevation levels make this site pretty interesting. You know, you could hold it from down here, probably see people's heads. This, I imagine, will be a pretty common angle, although you don't really have anywhere to go if you're playing back here, now that I think about it. As far as the default goes, this corner back here, it'll just seem pretty natural and safe to people, I think. And one thing I already found is that if you plant the spike on that back wall, or really just anywhere in that area under there, this is just an insane one-way. Or I mean, I would assume most controllers will be able to do something like this. And like, I mean, you can see if I'm in this corner, yeah, okay, I can see. But if I'm actually on the spike and trying to defuse it anywhere in this area, good luck with that. And then anyone here just has a perfect angle on you. All right, now finally, let's take a look at mid. For some reason, the byface barriers are bugged, but I will just show you where those are once again. So the attackers start off on either of these sides here. And then this is your little neutral area. This is bottom mid. You have these boxes to jump on. And that's actually really important because, again, the byface barrier is bugged right here, unfortunately. But at least on the minimap, you can see the defenders start off right here. So if you've got an op, just to, you know, post it up on this angle, as soon as the round starts, you can watch mid. I do like the way this is designed though, because you can't quite see the left side from there. You sort of have to focus on the right. And I believe that you can crouch under that line. Like if I shoot that, for example, and come take a look at it, you can see the bullets all the way up there. So if people aren't careful, you might see them if they're like jumping around or maybe a little bit further back. But I want to say you can definitely crouch past that operator angle. But yeah, also with this angle, you should note that you can safely make your way back on top of this box without being seen from window and then peek it from back here. You would just have to worry about that angle there if any of the defenders push up. But otherwise, that's the way that you can sort of double peek there, is by having someone on this box and someone on the ground as well, and just double swing that. Okay, now it's here, of course, but the other two defender barriers in A and B link are quite far back. So if you're coming to, you know, mid from the B side, you have to make your way. It's a pretty fair distance until you can actually fight anyone. Same thing over here from the A link side of things. You have to come all the way here out until probably this area before you'll see anyone. I think you will find early smokes in mid to be very, very common on this map. Obviously, the attackers will just want to throw that, so not worry about that space. Maybe make their way and do a sort of A split between link and main. But then what's also interesting is that there are a few nice little spots that the defenders could lurk up into. So I wouldn't be surprised if you also find that defenders at the start of the rounds will just smoke that off, and then it just turns into two smokes there, big neutral space to work with in the middle. But yeah, just quickly, if you find yourself, you know, going towards A from mid, once you get to this point, the defenders can easily be in this corner, so you'll have to worry about that. Coming here into link itself now, another corner there. Coming through here, and now this will start looking familiar. This is a main into yard, I think they call this. Yeah. And then, you know, the side itself in there like we were looking at earlier. And if you want to try and go through B link to B, it's probably going to be a little bit harder because it's so far up in mid. You might have to worry about some of these corners. The corner there isn't too deep, thankfully. They put a an angled corner there. But you will have to worry about that 100%, like it's literally straight into defender spawn. Otherwise, you know, clearing these sort of things, it'll definitely make hitting the B site a lot easier because it's just one less thing to worry about. And otherwise, this is a pretty prominent angle for the defenders to hold. But it is going to be difficult to do that, again, with this massive window right here. Having said that, if the enemy doesn't have a sentinel and doesn't have, you know, a trip or something watching this, you can walk up through there and then, you know, flank A site, flank B site, maybe get something like that going. But yeah, otherwise that is everything going on for Corrode. Got both sites there, showed you mid. I think the design of this map is just gorgeous. The castle looks insane. I love all the purple with the Radianite. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions about this map, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already seen the other videos I've made for this act as well, featuring like the new skin bundle, the new battle pass, stuff like that, go give those a watch. But yeah, otherwise that's it.